Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Sadie Crow, and I am the new project manager for CVCA. I have been with the CAP Center, the Child Abuse Prevention Center, for over the last year. And a little bit about myself. I graduated from CSU Stanislaus with a bachelor's in psychology back in 2014. And then before I worked for the Child Abuse Prevention Center, I was working direct services with children with autism. So that's a little bit about myself, and I am very eager to learn all about you. So we are going to go and do some brief introductions and with a little icebreaker question with how did you get your first name? So if anyone wants to go first.
So Sadie, we should give our name and organization and then the icebreaker. I guess since I'm talking, I can go. I'm Michael Williams. I'm the policy director at the Child Abuse Prevention Center. I am the youngest of 8 in a Catholic family. I think it was one of the last Catholic boy names left after St. Michael. And I will pass it on to Colleen.
Okay, well, it's interesting that you said that, Michael, because I happen to be the oldest in a large Catholic family. So I guess I got the first pick of the names. I guess I was on the top of the list because Colleen is a very common Irish name. And I'm from Ohio, and in my grade school, there were like 3 Colleens in my class. But here in California, I'm always probably the only one. So it's different. It's very different. So that's how I got my name. And I teach at Cal State LA. I'm part of the faculty of the School of Social Work. And I started out my career in Ohio, and then I came to California, and I was they call it a children's services worker at that time, and I became a worker and a supervisor. I worked in the area of child sexual abuse because at that time the agency actually did direct therapy. Believe it or not, the public agency did at that time. Then I left there and went to Children's Institute for some private work, and then I was the director of 2 child sexual abuse investigations / advocacy centers in Los Angeles. One is the Los Angeles County Child Sexual Abuse Crisis Center, and the other one was Stewart House. And from there, I went into academia, and that's probably too long of a story, so we'll just stop with saying I'm at Cal State LA right now, and I serve in the School of Social Work. Thank you.
Well, that helps since you'll be our symposium speaker, so it's great to hear all that. So Colleen, do you want to pick the next person? Sorry, Sadie.
I'll go. I see Sadie. How about you next?
Yeah, so I'm Sadie, and I just introduced myself, but I got my name because my mom loves the Beatles. And so there's a song with the name Sadie in it. And it's funny because it's not one of their top songs, and it's actually very slow and different. So that's how I got my name.
That's great.
And I'm going to pass it off to Stephanie.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Stephanie Beegler, and my title is the Chief Program Officer for the Child Abuse Prevention Center. And I have been at the center for 24.5 years. So you can kind of figure out what I have been doing for the last 2.5 decades. And I actually share something in common with Michael and Colleen. I come from a small Italian Catholic family, and Stephen, my family apparently really likes St. Stephen. My father's name is Stephen. My brother's name is Stephen. I have several cousins whose names are Stephen, and if their first name isn't Stephen, their middle name is Stephen. And we didn't want to break the generational cycle, and our youngest son is Stephen. And so my mother's name is Irene, so it didn't make sense. Stephen, Stephanie, Stephen, and Irene. So I proudly have this name, and I was actually always the only person in my class that had the name Stephanie, and I don't shorten it. I'm not a Steph. I'm not a Steffi. I take my full name with all of the syllables in it. So thanks for the icebreaker, Sadie. It's kind of fun. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it on to Celine.
Hey everyone, I'm Celine Fabiano. I work at Seneca Family of Agencies. I'm the Assistant Director of one of their outpatient and school-based counseling programs. And I love this question, Sadie. I don't think I've ever had it as a icebreaker question. So my story is that I'm the youngest of 5, and my parents looked in a book of baby names, and my mother liked the name Celine. She thought I was kind of a calm, serene baby. So yeah. And yeah, at the time growing up, I was the only one. Now I've met some other Celines. And let's see, a little hard for me to see on the screen. Let me move down. I will move to and pass it to Brittany.
Thank you, Celine. My name is Brittany Zufeld. I also am at the Child Abuse Prevention Center here in Sacramento, and I am specifically program support with Strategies TA, but I have the honor of coming and hanging out today and helping out as best I can. And my first name isn't, I was actually just talking to my mom about this yesterday because my initials were originally BMW before I was married. And my first name, Brittany, she just liked the name and decided to go with it. But my last name, my chosen last name, now that I'm married, is actually a shortened version of a German family descent name. So I'm very proud of my last name. And I will go with Christopher.
Well, I have some similarities as well. I'm the middle of 9 in a Catholic family. And so 3 brothers and a sister older and 3 brothers and a sister younger than me. So right in the middle. My name is one of the saints, so Saint Christopher. And I think that's how I got it. I also started to run out of names, I think, as well as they were going down the list. And I am the clinical director at Community Resource Center in San Diego, California, and oversee the mental health programs in our various departments. I will pass it on to Chelsea.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chelsea Young. I am the supervisor for the AT grant at Child and Family Center in Santa Clarita. My name, my mom was convinced I was going to be a boy. And so she had chosen a boy's name. And then I was born and I was not a boy. And so one of her friends named me. And I apologize. I was on a call. So if I choose someone that has already gone, I am sorry. So I am going to go to Allison.
Hi, everyone. I'm Allison Johnson. Pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the clinical director of Center for Community Solutions, also in San Diego. Hi, Christopher. We refer to you all the time. We should probably connect. We have had this grant maybe for 8 years. And I've been at the agency for 7. So really love being a part of this team. And I got my name. My parents were camping in Yosemite before they got married. And this little girl was obsessed with my dad. My dad plays guitar. And she followed them around the whole weekend. And her name was Allison Lori. So I also have a sister. And her name is Lori. So that is how we came to be. And I'm going to popcorn Samantha. I don't think you've gone yet. Yeah, great.
Hi, I'm Samantha Clay, but I also go by Sam. I am the new chief of the children's unit. However, I've worked in the children's unit for over 4.5 years and with Cal OES for almost 9 years. For the icebreaker, my parents could not decide on Amanda or Stephanie, so they went with Samantha. So, and then I'm going to popcorn Melissa.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Oh, it's okay. Thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Gowen. I am also with Cal OES. I'm a program specialist in the children's unit. You may have also recognized me because I also used to work at the CAP Center and led this project formerly. My name comes from a friend of my dad's, and I have the same initials as my mom. So nice to be able to share that. I will popcorn it over to Dennis.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dennis Hall. I'm with Cal OES. I've been in the Victim Services branch for 17 years, been with the Children's Unit for almost 15. Samantha Clay is probably about my 9th supervisor. And basically, we handle all the child abuse treatment program grants, as well as other grants that dovetail sort of into child abuse treatment. So it's nice to meet you all. And I was supposed to be a girl, according to my parents. So my name was supposed to be Denise. And on the day of my birth, they had to scramble around and have my birth certificate changed, and hence my name, Dennis. Nice to meet you. I will, let's see, Dr. Crystal Pugh. Is Dr. Crystal Pugh available?
Yeah,
Oh, there you are.
like
Thank you.
Like a church pew. I know nobody pronounced it correctly. So I'm Crystal. I'm the director of programs over here at HomeStart. And I too was supposed to be a boy. So they named me Christopher. And then stay at the hospital, I was not a boy. So they quickly changed it to Crystal. And I will pass it to Shade.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shade Carswell. I am also at HomeStart. I am the team lead for the behavioral health program. I got my name because Shade was a very popular singer in the 80s, and my parents really enjoyed the music. I will popcorn over to, I believe, Michelle, has it gone?
Hi, I'm Michelle Winterstein from For the Child in Long Beach, Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Agency, and a CHAT grantee. And also from an Irish Catholic family of 6 children. And my 5 brothers all got the saints' names. And I was named by my mother after a popular actress of the time, Michelle Lee. So that's where my sense of drama comes from. And I will popcorn over to Araceli.
Hello, everyone. I'm Araceli Martinez. I am the middle of 3 siblings, and my name actually came from my father. Just simply liked the name. He came across the name, and he was really hoping for a girl. My father has all brothers, so he was really excited to have a girl, and that's the name he liked, and that's the name I have. I am the clinical programs and outreach director with the Barbara Sinatra Children's Center in Rancho Mirage. And I popcorn Alma Perez.
Hello, my name is Alma Perez, and I've been with the Barbara Sinatra Children's Center for 23 years. I'm the finance department coordinator. And actually, I have no idea why I was named Alma, but I do know why I was named my middle name, Jacqueline. That was after a Mexican actress that my mom liked during that time, that her name was Jacqueline Ambere. And then, but I do know that my first name, Alma, translates in English to soul. So, fun fact. And I have no idea who hasn't gone. Maybe Jordan?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan Hossein Hedman, and my name comes from the Jordan River. My mom wanted to name me after the river from all the stories that she's heard, although we have had family that's gone in person and they've said how it's not as beautiful anymore as once described. But and I do the communications at the CAP Center, so it's such a pleasure to see everyone here. There's so many faces. And I will pass it to Nicole if you haven't gone already.
Hi, my name is Nicole Viernes. I'm with Cal OES. I am a program specialist for the children's unit.
And Nicole, we are sharing how we got our first name. I think you came to the meeting after we had said that. So please feel free to share if you're so wish.
Well, the way I got my first name is it sounded good with my sister's name, who is older than me. So I guess Nicole went well with Hillary. So that's how I got my name. And it was probably popular at the time. So nothing too special.
Nicole, I can go. I know there are a lot of people. Hi, I'm Kim, and I'm an LMFT, but I'm also a program manager for San Fernando Valley Community Mental Health over our chat program, and I also teach at CSUN, and I'm just off camera today. I was out sick yesterday, and I'm just trying to get through the day, but don't feel so hot. But my name, so I come from a really large family, and I'm the youngest. Not Catholic, but ours was Baptist, and my mom named me Kim Denise because it was popular at that time. And now I belong to a small church, and there are 3 Kims, but I'm the only one that's not a Kimberly. So my name is just Kim. So that makes me different from most people. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Was there anyone that was not able to go?
I can go. Sorry, I'm eating lunch at the same time, so that's why I turn my camera off. My name's Eileen. I am the Director of Client Services with the Open Door Network, formerly known as the Alliance Against Family Violence in Bakersfield, California. We talk about something different about us, or is that what the topic was?
We are reviewing how you got your first name.
So my first name is actually Socorro. So I am named after my grandma. But all my life I've been called Eileen.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you. Carla, have you been able to go yet?
No, Carla Miranda, Senior Program Director with the Riverside Area Rape Crisis Center. And I am the youngest of three girls. My dad's name was Carlos, and they were hoping for the boy, but he did not get that. And so I am the female version of Carlos, and then also named after a cousin of his. So he liked the name. And I think there's two individuals sharing camera.
I think, yeah, Judy.
Okay.
Hi. Hey, I'm Judy Cunha, and I'm with the Resource Connection, the Calaveras Children's Advocacy Center. I'm our operations manager, and I'm here with Karen. I'm going to pop over to her. And I have no clue why I was named Judith, other than I think it was quite popular in the 50s. I do know, though, my middle name, which is Gail, spelled Geil. That name is from my mother's music teacher, choir teacher at church. So, but don't know about the Judith. And I pop over to my colleague, Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen, and I'm with the Resource Connection Calaveras Children's Advocacy Center. At this point, I'm the interim manager. I was named Karen because I think my parents liked that name, but interestingly enough, later on, as I got older and started growing up, they said I was so empathetic that everyone in my family began to say it was a premonition because they said I was always Karen.
Oh, Lord. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. So if we can put the agenda back up. We are very pleased today to have Dr. Colleen Friend here. She is going to be our November symposium speaker. And so we are going to spend some time reviewing the topics and objectives for the symposium with Dr. Colleen. So I'm going to pass it over to you.
So, hi, everybody. When Michael first called me about this, he asked me for some ideas, and we talked about some ideas. And then Sadie asked me to be a little more specific. So I'm going to read what I proposed tentatively. But what I want to find out from you is, what do you want? So this is what I'm proposing, and we could knock some of these out and put in different ones. But when the topic was about how to testify, these are the things that came to mind. So I'm proposing to do maybe a 1-hour training in the beginning. And then I was inviting a colleague who's an attorney. His name is Seth Goldstein. And he is a former law enforcement officer who then became an attorney. And his practice is almost exclusively child abuse and child custody cases. And I've testified with him as an expert before, and he's used me. So I feel like he prepares very well. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted him. So what I said so that would be the 2nd hour. And then the 3rd hour would be, I think you guys call it a chat. It would be Q&A. It might be vignettes. We might practice. We might do something like that. It can be flexible. We can see what we want to do. But I thought the attorney would be in the 2nd hour. So here's my proposal. These are my topics and objectives. The participants will review the various legal forums and standards of proof for each case or each forum, and that would include both criminal and civil court, as well as many of you, I don't know if you get called to do a deposition, but in a deposition, you have to do a lot of the same things you do when you go to court. You have to be sworn in, you have to, be voir dired and all the rest of that stuff. So that would be proposal and goal and objective number 1. Number 2, participants would become familiar with what is needed to testify as an expert at court, including the preparation of a resume, because you have to do that. And you have to make sure that it's accurate. And you have to be familiar with it such that you can almost recite it in the same way that I'm looking at you and having eye contact. So that's another one. A 3rd one is participants will be able to identify 3 reasons why it's important to form an alliance with, first, the attorney who's calling you on the case, and 2nd, who the trier of fact is. Sometimes the trier of fact is the judge, sometimes the trier of fact is a jury. My 3rd one is participants will name 3 feelings that they have surrounding being challenged, because when you testify at court, some of it is around understanding that the other attorney has to challenge you. They have to question you. They have to find out how you came to these conclusions and if you're really an expert. And sometimes that generates feelings in us. The next one is, how do you prepare your clients for knowing that you're going to testify in court? Because if you have delivered some therapeutic services and, those were delivered confidentially, but then you get called to court and you're going to be asked questions, you need to go through with your client, I may be called to answer X question. How do you feel about that? Because I have to tell the truth. I can't just talk to you about it and reconfigure an acceptable answer. I have to, I'm sworn in to tell the truth. How do you feel about that? Because there's a number of ways to handle that. And maybe you feel like you want to engage an attorney to quash your subpoena to appear in court. It gets kind of complicated. So that would be a discussion that we would have with Seth. But I want to know how do you feel about preparing your clients for that? And then participants will name 3 reasons why professional duress and demeanor is very important for establishing your credibility at court. Now, see, that was for starters. So I want to hear from you guys. Do you want to focus? Is that something you might want to do? Or do you want to focus more about testifying about child sexual abuse? Or do you want to have it be generic to all child abuse? Do you want it, maybe you do more custody matters? I'm not sure. So let me stop there and open it up and see what you guys have to tell me.
Does anyone have any thoughts or questions?
I can give something. You did mention to talk about like the child custody matters and how that involves. I think that is like a good topic to touch on because that is a common question when you're dealing with children and abuse and with within the household or with another parent.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what let me take notes, and then at the end, maybe we should, I'm just gonna pose maybe putting them all out there for a vote. Because I don't, I don't know if everybody agrees with Eileen that they want to do child custody matters, or is that not what everybody wants to? So I've got a note for child custody matters, and I will say that Seth is really an expert in child custody matters too. So he really has a lot to say about that. And as you know, that can be quite contentious.
Yeah, I think it's just like it talks about like what are their rights. I think when you work with like parents with children who have been a victim of abuse, especially by another parent, they feel limited to what they can ask for. And if they are working with someone who is not too familiar with the child, like the family law department or how that system works, because a lot of times I have found myself letting clients like, you do not have to agree, you have your rights to this. And so having that a topic, focusing on that and what are their rights and what can they do and what can't they do, I think it'd be great.
So thanks, Ellen. I added more onto it. What are children and parents' rights in family law court? What can they cannot do? At certain ages, kids can have certain things that they're able to state their preference on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to recall. I know I recognize Celine and Stephanie, of course, and I think Carla might have been on the last call. It's been several months since we brought up this idea. I'll just speak for my agency. We do everything we can to never go to court. I've never had to respond. Like, we quash everything, we get out of everything. So I don't know if other agencies are feeling the need to be as prepped for actual court as much as how do we help clients know how to prepare. But my staff, we tell the clients we don't comment on custody orders. We're not forensic evaluators. We can't prove that abuse has happened. We don't do any of that. And so I just wanted to throw it back out there to the folks that were in this original request. I can't really recall the things we were hoping for. If anybody can help. Celine?
Well, I'll jump in, but I don't know that I can help much. Thank you, Allison. I'm not sure I was part of the original discussion around this. Like you and your agency, we've never been to court. I think many years ago I had to go for some other kind of reason, but never testifying. I think it was just to try to prevent a record from being subpoenaed. So yeah, we don't have that much of a need of sort of how to present in court because I don't think our clinicians ever would be allowed to. I think our senior administrators would try to do it if had to. So but yeah, preparing clients for court and the things that Eileen talked about in terms of sort of understanding more about custody and what people's rights are, what parents' rights are, what the clinician needs to do in terms of involving both parents or not, would be really helpful.
I'd like to weigh in as well, and I was not part of the original conversation in terms of determining what the needs are. But being at an outpatient community mental health center, working primarily with abused kids, one of the things we're seeing right now is a tremendous increase in a request for records, attorneys seeking the mental health records. The volume of that has just skyrocketed. And I know my staff, even though we do a lot of training, that whole issue of we're seeing more civil litigation and parents not understanding that if they sue in civil court for damages and the child's mental health condition becomes at issue in their lawsuit, then that that really virtually opens up. It's a process to get those records, but it makes it much more likely those records will be obtained if they go forward with that civil litigation. So maybe something about that. Depositions, we do end up with my staff doing a lot of depositions and testimony in dependency court. So the difference between being giving, testifying regarding fact as a treating therapist versus being an expert witness would be valuable for us. We try very hard, I think, also to stay out of family law court if we can, because we don't have the resources. As a nonprofit community center treating very low income families, it's so difficult and costly. The whole family law court time and process. And we usually only have one, we often don't have an opportunity to evaluate all parts of, both parents or, the parents with each of them with the child and so forth. So I would say dependency court is where we are primarily involved, and this whole thing of what to do when you get subpoenas for records. And the volume of that, and that has become so burdensome. I don't know if I'm just throwing all that out and whatever sticks or is of relevance to the rest of the group, but those are the things we're seeing.
Thank you. Thanks, Michelle.
Something else has come to mind. I don't know if this is if this could be a topic discussion, but what's been coming up here is in Kern County, we do not have any youth shelters or anywhere that a youth can safely, if they're living in an abusive home, run away and go to a safe location, with it being confidential, and plus with the laws that are in place. And what I recognize and hearing from our child abuse program is that when we have these situations with minors not wanting to live in the home, what are their options? We do have a domestic violence shelter that supports human trafficking and domestic violence, sexual assault. What are their rights to reside in that shelter for safety? How long could they reside there if they had to go to a safe place? I think those are all important for us, because I have very limited knowledge other than if a minor does come into our shelter, by law, the parent has to give permission if the child is still under the parent's care. Because I don't want the child just to run away and they're, it's a really sticky situation. So if there's anything that we can provide on that, that would be really helpful.
Okay, I wrote it down. Anything else?
We're a outpatient community mental health clinic as well. So as others have said, we generally try to avoid court as much as possible. I have only been called once in 5 years, and the lawyer ended up not calling me anyway. And there was a lot that went into trying to squash that. Something that I am seeing come up frequently is parents have questions about documenting or what questions to ask their attorney when the other parent is the offending party. So supporting clients in navigating that while not stepping outside of scope. And then also I've had a couple offending parents who have claimed parental alienation and have used that as leverage in court. So if there's any sort of information on how to navigate that, I would find it helpful.
Any other thoughts or questions?
Well, I think that we would just like to reiterate that the emphasis that seems to be of most value in our thoughts right now would indeed be expert witness preparation for our forensic interviewer. And I really like the idea of making sure that CVs and JVs are spick and span and proper for court, and just those tips on expert testimony. And also to talk about records being asked for. So those are the topics that we feel sound most interesting for us.
So, and it's interesting to hear this, and I'm trying to reconstruct the original conversation, and Colleen, I really appreciate you just taking it all in. It sounds like there's a lot of fruit here for a presentation around interaction with the court system between records and expert testimony. It sounds like different organizations have different policies and roles, so there might not be one topic that hits everybody the same.
Yeah.
And then I know also, Eileen, I want to capture, I don't know if it falls within the kind of these legal questions. So I want to make sure we don't lose that question around options for minors around shelters. And Sadie, I'm thinking this might be something we look at as we're getting good information here, maybe about future topics. So Colleen, don't feel like you have to do all of it.
Okay.
I think there's a lot coming up that does seem to match your expertise. I just wanted to share that reflection. I didn't want to preempt any other input, but also to give some perspective for your reflection as well, Colleen.
Okay, so maybe I do have to think about it. I have to go back and to the drawing board because as I hear you guys talk, some themes emerged, and here's the themes that I saw emerging. First, you want to know how to respond to subpoenas. That's very important. And I see a lot of people shaking their heads. And, for some of you, it's probably just going to be a refresher, because you do have to do this on a daily basis, but it would be good to review that and see if everybody is consistently on the same page with that. The second thing I heard, and it was almost universal, protecting client confidentiality and seeing what are the grounds on which you could squash a subpoena. So I think Seth would be, a really good partner with that. We've had to do it ourselves when I was at Stewart House, but, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. And then I also heard, Michelle saying that there's a huge request for records and the civil litigation. And once you open the door on civil litigation, you are going to put probably the kids' mental health issues on the line. And that's so complicated in terms of how do you recover with the kid after you do that? It can be difficult. And so I heard those themes emerge. And I also heard, what one of the original ones was expert testimony for your forensic interviewers and prep with resumes and stuff. That I can do very easily. But I think I want to go back to the drawing board and say, subpoena response, record protection, quash if you can. What are the rights of people with regard to family law when a divorce is in process? What are some of the things to be cautious about, because your actions now may cause consternation later on. So it's better to know upfront what the limits and responsibilities are. So how about, I don't want to take all of your time today. What if I, kind of look at this and reconfigure what I think I can do? And who do I get back to on this? Would this be something I would get back to Michael and Sadie on?
Yeah, Sadie is now our point person, but of course, for the continuity of the conversation, I'm here to help. And I think Stephanie has her hand up.
Oh, you're on mute, Stephanie.
Sorry, I just wanted to bring forth some of the comments in chat from Allison, who makes well, they're all good comments, but making sure that we're clear in what we cover so that everyone knows what the content will be, and then that will opt in or opt out people. And she especially highlighted that she's pleased that we can support learning about interactions with the courts. And then want to bring forth Michelle, who said Colleen Friend is a wonderful trainer and a series might be an idea. 3 hours may not be, will not, oh, you didn't even say will, you said may, you said will not be enough. So, so I just wanted to bring that forth in case people missed it in the chat. I think I caught everything that was in the chat regarding this conversation. So great.
So thank you for that. Do you guys still want to stick with 3 hours? Is that, because I know people are busy and they have other things they have to do, so it might mean I have to condense it. So should I condense it to 3?
Well, Colleen, it's something we didn't discuss, but we're delivering 4 symposia over the course of the year, actually between now and June. If you wanted to divide it into topics, like maybe one broad themes around subpoenas and records and one broad theme around testimony or something along those lines, if you're up for it, we could contract for more than one symposium, like one for later in maybe next spring.
That's a
There's
possibility.
some energy around it. Yeah.
Maybe I can make 2 proposals that way. I could see, how it sort of shakes out. I'm trying to identify what's been spoken about here.
Yes.
Maybe 2. Okay, anything else further? Because I'm aware that you have an agenda that you have to attend to, and you probably don't need me for the rest of your agenda.
I did want to see if we still would like to review some of the available times that you did have in
Oh,
November.
yes.
So that we can just have that on our radar.
Thank you, Sadie. Yes, that's. I did talk to Seth about this. So Seth and I were talking about his Wednesdays. I think this is November. He could do if we did it on a Wednesday, I would be available and he would be available in November on Wednesday the 15th and Wednesday the 29th. If we did it on a Wednesday. Let's see. Because I can do Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. He says, oh, Seth says Tuesday afternoons are clear. So how about this? What if we said Tuesday afternoons in November are clear?
Good.
And if we went with a Wednesday, his Wednesday is clear on the 15th and the 29th.
Perfect.
And it
Does
looks
that
like
seem
he
okay
avoided
for
the
people?
Thanksgiving weekend in there, Colleen.
Yeah,
so-
probably we
I
should
think
skip
so.
Thanksgiving for all
We don't want to
parties.
schedule something the Wednesday before the Thanksgiving holiday. So
Yeah.
thank you for being proactive about that.
Perfect. And if I am clear, usually we will have our symposiums in the morning time, correct? Usually Wednesdays and Thursdays. So.
That's been the history, and
Okay.
I think that was because it's what worked out for most folks, but I don't know if there's any preference in this group right now.
I think we got at least one a couple of partners here on the call that said that mornings are better because children are seen in afternoons. So I think we need to go back to the drawing board for that. Maybe we could ask if are mornings not good for anyone? Sorry, Colleen.
No, it seems like people want mornings.
Yeah.
What about the morning of Wednesday, the 15th?
Yeah, I think that can work.
So that's about 6 weeks out. And does that work for folks in terms of, if by the end of this week we have a flyer and a registration and in terms of scheduling people's time in advance? Great.
Good. Anyone have issues with that or challenges, conflicts? I think we have consensus.
Perfect.
Great work. Picking a date is usually the hardest thing to do. So there's success already.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much,
All
Colleen.
right. Thank you very much for having me. I
Yes.
enjoyed meeting all of you, and I look forward to further contact. And I'll be getting back to Michael and Sadie. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Have a wonderful day. All right. That was some good conversation. And we will be definitely putting out a save the date and narrowing down the topics that will be discussed. That was some good conversation. And so being new in this role, I really love everyone's expertise and advice. So thank you. So looking ahead for CVCA, I have been wanting to start conducting needs assessments with the subrecipients and just having a better understanding of all of our members, and really trying to identify some key areas to meet your training and technical assistance needs. And so I have seen previous needs assessments and see the questions on there. But with this group, I wanted to have an open conversation around what questions I might want to ask during these needs assessments with our members. I had a question in mind to ask of what specific resources members would like on the website. That's just an example, but I wanted to see what would be best fit for me to be asking to make this a really successful project or program.
Thanks, Sadie. And maybe for a little context for that, I think, and I don't remember, and Melissa did the questions in the last one, and they were very well directed. So I might be repeating it, but the context I think of is our work plan has real specific areas of work, and you mentioned one of them, the resources on the website, the symposia, the Let's Chat kind of peer learning sessions, the advisory group. This year we will be doing 2 in-person. I know you're going to share all the plan, but I kind of want to lay out what this needs assessment will inform. So 2 in-person rural county focused events. And am I missing anything? We have our newsletter. There's, what's useful content for the newsletter and things for us to pass along. Sadie or Melissa or Stephanie, is there anything I'm missing also from our work plan that?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes. So our newsletter, our 2 in-person, we are very excited about our trainings for our rural subrecipients. And then narrowing down some more dates for the symposiums and what topics that are really important to be covered. Does anyone have any thoughts or questions?
I have one. When you're inquiring about the needs, I think it's important to ask what systems issues we are encountering, because I know one of the things, and first meeting and put something right out there, but working with Cal OES and the Victim Compensation Program used to be a very smooth experience and a very positive experience, and that has changed somewhat over time as the Victim Compensation Program has become much more rigid about wanting to be the payer of last resort and what they want us to go through to bill any potential HMOs or insurances, not just once and get a denial, but for every single date of service, and the burden that puts on a community mental health center. And that's I don't want to get into that topic, but what I'm saying is there needs to be a place. We used to be able to bring a child in with Cal OES, VOCA money, provide 6 or 8 weeks of initial service while we were getting a victim compensation claim processed. And then if that got approved, you could move them off the grant funds. That was a very smooth thing. It's no longer smooth. And we need a place to talk about those systems issues between the different entities when something emerges like that, where we can say, here's what we're experiencing in the field. And it involves, our Department of Mental Health, Medi-Cal everybody wants to be payer of last resort, right? And that's one issue. There's lots of other issues, but there's no place to take those kinds of systems issues to have conversations about here's what's not working in the field and how do we fix it across those siloed entities. And maybe does that resonate with anyone, or is it, you hate to throw something out there and have it be just you? But to me, there's that need. It's not just a training need, it's a need for where can we really talk about the challenges and how we creatively solve them.
And so to translate it to Sadie's question, we can be asking people, what are some contractor systems issues that we could help address? That could be
that
one
are affecting client care or victim services, or meeting the needs of our children and our families, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Michelle, I would add that there is room in our scope of work and scope of activities to do that. So thank you for bringing that up.
It's very helpful. Thank you, Michelle.
Sadie, do you have the questions that you're gonna ask us? I don't know if this is the same thing we went through with. Nope, forgot her name already.
Dawn.
Dawn. Is it the same thing we did with Dawn, or?
So it's going to be the same idea, but I was just asking for ideas of questions to ask that could be a little bit different or more supportive to make the program more successful. So switching up the questions being asked, just so we can better fit the needs.
Yeah. It's to dig a little bit deeper than the prior questions, Allison.
Yes.
So does that make sense? Yeah, it's not. It's a little more specific and a little deeper into us conversation.
All right. Okay, so we can move on to the agenda. Okay, so future symposium speakers and topics. So our last meeting, we did touch on some priority topics for future speakers. And some of the topics were suicidal ideation in teens, working with children with co-occurring diagnosis, hiring and paying therapists. So those were just some of the topics, but I wanted to leave it an open conversation for what you would like to see with our speakers, if there's any other common areas of interest. If anyone had any?
All right, y'all, I counted on my fingers before I started talking. I love when we have clinicians that give really concrete interventions. Most of the folks that are coming to the symposia from my agency are the direct service staff, and they want to learn something new, try it, talk about what their cases might look like when they try a thing. I think the most successful symposia we've had was the MMAT presentation, because she even had us do stuff in small groups. We actually tried her interventions and we walked away with a whole printout of things to try. Love those two topics that you brought up, suicidal ideation in youth. Absolutely always a hot topic, always looking to learn from each other with what works, what you're trying, what resources are out there. Co-occurring, we're definitely seeing more too. So I think those two topics are great. And I would just encourage you all to look for presenters that are a little bit closer to being client facing, so that they really, I appreciate when folks have been in the field for a long time, but they're coming to do the thing, not to tell us what they've done for 20 years. So love the expertise, but please give us concrete things to try so I can talk my therapist into coming back to a symposia because they stopped. And I really want them to utilize this wonderful space to learn from their other colleagues in the field.
I also too think it would be beneficial to add something that talks about like a reaction response as a professional. So I feel like sometimes we encounter professionals that will respond based off their emotion because we're working in a high crisis setting. We want to, I always refer to it as we want to save the day, right? We want to give all these options because sometimes we feel like we know what's best for our client, and bringing it. I know most therapists or direct client service providers know this, but having that refresher again, where we talk about the emotional response and, how are we going to respond to this, thinking it through. And you can get your feedback from therapists if they're on this call that can give you some examples of, oh yeah, I do see that sometimes, like within myself, and that will make that, I think that'll be really helpful for whoever's attending this and providing that direct client care. Because not just therapists see that, case managers see it too, where we feel responsible, or we feel like we have to have an exact answer at that moment, or their crisis becomes our crisis. So that's one thing that I think.
That is really good feedback. Thank you.
And Sadie, we had someone that agreed with what Allison said. I want to name it as Carla, who wrote it in the chat. So
yes,
seems to be a theme with
yeah,
practical examples and practicing those examples. Celine?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I agree with the things that people have said. Yeah, our clinicians love concrete examples. One idea I have, but if it's not relevant for other agencies, I'm fine to let it go. But our clinicians are trying to do more groups, and we don't have that many trainings in general around working with teens in groups, and so I think our team would be interested in that if that was of interest to others.
yeah. Is anyone else seeing that? Okay. I'm going to.
I'll just say I think groups are hard and they've changed. The way you do a teen group now, the way we used to be trained to do teen groups 15, 20 years ago doesn't work now with teens. So we've had to change the whole approach to groups. So I think it's a need, but if you get somebody, I'd like to see somebody who's currently successful and since COVID, since COVID is succeeding in getting teenagers engaged and using some of the newer approaches, not what we would have been, not my era, but something more innovative.
I think so what I work with a lot is within our homeless shelters and our domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking shelters. And one thing I recognize with teens is if they are dealing with, they're still healing from the trauma and developing some healthy coping skills. There's still that social interaction piece that they're missing. And so I'm thinking of a particular client that I have now, or that our agency is working with. And she is a high school student having the challenges of interacting in a social, an environment with everybody. And I think what we've been doing is looking for solutions on how we can support her while she's residing in our shelter, and what that looks like to get her into a school setting, because I know that will take some time. Maybe some information about that, what to do with those who have diagnosis, that are dealing with trauma. What is best practice, what's healthy, what works, what doesn't, and then the groups, because we talked about groups. And I think of an individual like that, if they have a hard time in a big social setting, they're going to have a hard time in group. They're going to be they're going to be worried about being in the group opposed to learning what the group is providing. So what does that look like for that, those teens or those children who don't interact well with a bunch of people, but it's a growing progress.
I'd like to add a request for family therapy interventions for traumatized children. And then also a request if we are doing a training on suicide assessment and intervention to make sure that it includes younger children as well. I'm seeing a big uptick in elementary school children who are endorsing suicidal ideation, and the stuff I do with teens doesn't work with them. So please.
I don't know if it's been discussed before, but I think it'd be helpful to have a presentation on working with trans and questioning youth, and also developmental trauma disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And so a follow-up I think of as we hear like some of these very specific areas is if you have presenters that you would recommend, that's where we've gotten our best presenters. Well, I'm sure Colleen Friend will be one of the best. We got her a different way, but you know, some of our best presenters have been recommended by members of this group. So, you know, young child and youth suicidal ideation, family therapy, trans and questioning youth. Christopher, you just said a specific developmental
trauma disorder, like complex trauma.
Trauma disorder, yeah. So that's a very specific expertise.
Yeah, I have people I can recommend for both of the ones I indicated. So both really good speakers.
Thank you, Christopher. That's great. And Chelsea, I can't help but not share that in Sacramento County, our agency sponsors the Child Death Review Team. And they used to be, teen suicides, no longer need to call it teen suicides because there are younger youth that we are seeing. So it's not just in your community.
What are your thoughts of having a small piece on recognizing signs of human trafficking? That is, the number is increasing with minors in Kern County. And what we're finding is that this is occurring in the home. So it's usually like the perpetrator, the pimp, is someone close to home, or it's friends recruiting. I think that's a big awareness that should be a piece of something like in something like this.
Yeah.
And I can recommend a speaker for that if you're interested in something.
Yes, please. This is all really good topics and ideas that we can work with. We are in the works for a symposium speaker named Robin Gobble, who will talk about movement-based therapies for children with trauma history. And I can put her link in the chat so you can look her up when we're not on the meeting and see what your thoughts are. But is that of something of interest of trying different those kind of
Now the follow-up of past input of around work with nonverbal children. Yeah.
I think if we're doing like nonverbal children, I think that is a good piece too, because working with trauma, we often find that there's a lot of misdiagnosis. And a lot of times the reason why children are nonverbal is because of the trauma that occurred in the home. And that again is some beneficial information of when to recognize that it is a diagnosis versus it's trauma, and how to respond.
So I put her link in the chat, and she is someone that will be able to come in either March or April. But we will be getting started on looking for another symposium speaker for January or February with these topics. And if you have any resources or speakers, definitely send them my way or Michael's way. And if Brittany, can you put the agenda back up? Let's see where we're at. Let's see. and put it up too. One moment. Perfect. So our next step is let's chat future dates and topics. Michael, I'm going to pass it on to you.
Sure. And I think to me, because the context of our past last chats, this has been our the structure we're setting up for our peer learning. And it's generally had two directions. One has been kind of, and Colleen Friend mentioned it, a follow-up session with the symposium presenter, more of a Q&A and check back in. It's also been a topical conversation with OES and any updates from OES. And then anything else you think would be valuable for peer learning. So beyond the topics we discussed for the symposium, is there anything else that we should have our attention on in terms of topics, perhaps not necessarily with a subject matter expert, just for peer learning or peer exchange or comparing notes, that you would like to see as part of the Let's Chat? And if nothing comes to mind, then just maybe this is validating the general structure of a follow-up with the symposium presenter and some exchange, updates and exchange with OES or OES partners. Does that make sense?
Michael, in the
Yeah.
past, wasn't the Let's Chat more stuff with Nicole? I guess that's now Melissa, but like more in the weeds of the grant. It seems like it's shifted to almost be similar to this meeting. I don't know when it
Right.
shifted.
So it was both.
Okay.
It was when we started out, just to start out a peer exchange, it was very focused on, and I think there were some like immediate updates from OES at the time that we decided to focus on. You're the advisory group, so your thoughts about the best use of this time are helpful. I think the general structure we have in mind is it's that plus the space for follow-up conversations with the presenters. So a little bit less advising this program and a little bit more about your needs as contractors and your follow-up to the symposium content.
Got it. Got it. Okay, that's helpful. Then in that case, I agree. These look great.
And dates, I think what we would like to do, what we had done in the past, is have a time slot where in alternating months that would be between this and this meeting and the Let's Chat and the symposia, so that we'd have 4 of each by the end of the year. Because Sadie's starting now and we're coming into the holidays, we might stack them up a little bit. But overall, between this and the Let's Chat, the idea might be to have the same time slot in alternating months. And my question would be, is this a good time slot, given the preference for mornings? I think in the past we had done Thursday mornings. Is there immediate thoughts right now, or we could also send out a survey to see what people's preferences are and then start to set up dates? And I think at our last meeting we discussed it, and there was kind of, I think there's I remember there being general support for Thursday mornings, but there was not one thing that rose to the top completely. Mornings on a return.
Thursday mornings.
Okay. Great.
Perfect. That is helpful.
And I think we look to probably early in the month, because holidays come later in the month generally. And so actually, if we look at calendars right now, so if we're doing the symposium, we said November 15th. well, no, I've said early in the month. Well, possibly like a Thursday morning, like a November. Oh, there's another event November 9th, but December 7th, December 14th. Don't want to get into the holidays too much. Any thoughts between December 7th and December 14th in terms of mornings? Okay. Maybe December 7th to be safer from the holiday rush.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
All right, I think that was the end of our agenda, but we will be having our November symposium next month, and we get to plan for our Let's Chat in December. And then hopefully we can all meet up in January after the holidays and be able to meet with our next speaker for the following symposium. And then does anyone have any last minute thoughts or questions or support that is needed?
You know, Karen and I are new to this committee, and it's very exciting to be here. We've had an unfortunate upheaval in our organization, and so new people are taking on new tasks and new honors. And so we received the email through our program director. And I just wanted to make sure how we would make sure that we're plugged in 100% now, and that those emails come directly to most likely Karen, but myself. I'm sort of air traffic controller around here. So can we email somebody, or are these emails going to become part of the list for sending out those flyers?
Yeah, so I just put my email in the chat for you. So if you just send me a quick email, I'll make sure you're a part of it.
And Judy and Karen, I think what you're going through, I have a feeling is a common, turnover and all that is a common experience everywhere, but in a rural county, that in the multiple hats you wear and all of that, I think is a real common experience. All the more reason we'll probably be in touch about the special events for rural counties, because we don't want you all to feel isolated in your work.
Thank you. We appreciate that, and just so you know, that the tragedy of having lost our director in April, who was the heart and soul of our heart and soul. We lost Kelly Cohen.
Wow, she passed.
She passed away in April.
I'm so sorry.
So sorry.
So we're working as best we can to make sure that we all get plugged in, and that we all keep that vision alive, and things like this are particularly wonderful for us, and your support. I saw Melissa in there, and God bless her. She's helped me so much. And I just want to thank all of you for your dedication to not only helping the children, but helping your colleagues. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other last minute thoughts? All right. Well, I wanted to thank you guys for meeting with me today, giving me the opportunity to really dig deep into what the priorities are and what is needed for the year ahead. So thank you. And please, if you have any questions or would like to meet one-on-one, please email me, and I would love to meet with you one-on-one.
Thanks, Sadie. And I also want to express my thanks just we know we've had a couple project managers. Sadie's a keeper, so we're very excited to be building with Sadie. But what I've appreciated, I mean, just look at the active participation today,
Right.
and that you all have really owned this project, and so we're really excited to make the most of the dedication you've had to this group and to the work in the next year and beyond.
All
All right,
right.
you got us, Sadie?
Yes, thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Take care.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.